I still remember the night I locked the door of my house and left for the city. My mother stood at the doorway, holding the edge of her old shawl, forcing a smile that never reached her eyes. She always did that, hid her pain so I could chase my responsibilities without guilt. "Don't worry about us," she said softly. "Focus on your job." I nodded, touched her feet, and hugged my wife goodbye. I didn't know that hug would be the last peaceful moment of my life. I was raised by my mother's sacrifices. My father had died when I was still learning to walk. From that day onward, my mother became everything: father, mother, protector, provider. She cleaned other people's homes. She washed dishes in houses where she wasn't even allowed to sit. She returned every night with tired eyes and swollen hands, yet still smiled when she saw me. "Study well," she would say, "so you don't have to live like this." And I studied, I worked, I succeeded. When I got married, I believed my wife would understand my bond with my mother. I believed love would make everything easy. That was my biggest mistake. At first, the disrespect was small. Cold answers, ignored greetings, food served late, sometimes not at all. My mother never complained. "She must be tired," she would say. "She's young. She'll learn." I believed her. Then I got a job offer in another city, better salary, better future. I hesitated. "Go," my mother insisted. "This is your time." My wife agreed too quickly. That should have warned me. Life in the city was hard but hopeful. Long hours, sleepless nights, but I believed I was building a safer future for my family. Whenever I called home, my wife answered. "She's fine," she'd say about my mother, "always praying for you." Sometimes, when I insisted on talking to my mother, the phone would be passed after delays. Her voice sounded smaller, but mothers never tell the truth when it might worry their children. One evening after months away, my calls went unanswered. Once, twice, 10 times. A strange fear settled in my chest. The next morning, I took leave and caught the first bus home. All the way, I imagined my mother waiting for me at the door, smiling the way she always did. But when I reached home, the door was locked. The house was silent. My heart began to pound. I unlocked the door and rushed inside. Her bed was gone. Her clothes were gone. Her prayer mat missing. Only the walls remained, cold and empty. My wife sat on the sofa. Almost relieved. "Where is my mother?" I asked, my voice shaking. She didn't look at me. "I sent her away." The world stopped. "What do you mean, sent her away?" "She was a burden," my wife replied. "Always interfering, always watching. I needed peace." My legs gave way. "You threw my mother out of her own home. She had nowhere else," I shouted. "She can manage," my wife said coldly. "Old people always do." I ran out of the house barefoot. I searched the streets, the bus stands, the neighbors. No one had answers. Some lowered their eyes. Some whispered. She left crying. By nightfall, my throat burned from calling her name. I sat on the road and cried like a child. The woman who had never abandoned me was now abandoned because of me. That night, I didn't return home. I sat outside a mosque, staring at the sky, asking questions I couldn't answer. How could I trust someone with my mother's heart? How could I leave her alone? I had earned money, respect, status, but I had failed as a son. At dawn, I stood up, wiped my tears, and made a promise. "I will find you, Amy, even if it takes my whole life." I didn't know then how broken she already was, or how long the road to redemption would be. But that day, I chose something greater than marriage. I chose love. I chose duty, and I would choose redemption, no matter the cost. The sun rose that morning, but for me, the world was still dark. I hadn't slept. I hadn't eaten. Every breath felt heavy, like guilt itself was sitting on my chest. I walked the streets calling out one word again and again. "Amy." People stared. Some ignored me. Some pitied me. But none of them knew that every unanswered step was tearing my heart apart. I started where I should have started earlier. The neighbors. An old woman from next door finally spoke. Her eyes filled with anger. "She begged your wife not to send her away," she said. "She said she had nowhere to go." My head spun. Why didn't anyone stop her? I asked. The woman sighed bitterly. "When cruelty wears the mask of house matters, society looks away." Those words burned deeper than any slap. Another neighbor told me the truth I wasn't ready to hear. She left with a small bag and your childhood photo in her hand. I collapsed. Out of all the things she could carry, she chose me. I checked bus stations, railway platforms, shelters. Everywhere I went, I described her gentle eyes, her trembling hands, her soft voice. "She's my mother," I kept saying, as if that alone would bring her back. Some shook their heads. Some offered prayers. None offered answers. While I searched, my mother walked through pain no mother should ever face. Thrown out like an unwanted object, she stood on the road, holding her dignity with shaking hands. She didn't cry at first. She just kept whispering, "My son will come. He doesn't know." She walked until her feet bled. She sat at a bus stop all night, hugging her shawl. People passed. No one asked. At dawn, a tea seller noticed her. "Amy, are you okay?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "I'm just waiting for my son." Gave her tea without charge. That tea was the first warmth she had felt since being thrown out. But kindness doesn't erase fear. She was scared, hungry, lost. She went to a small mosque and sat quietly. She prayed not for herself but for me. Protect my son, she whispered. Don't let my pain reach his heart. Even in abandonment, she chose me. 3 days passed. No sleep, no hope. On the 4th day I returned home not to rest, but to confront the truth. My wife was calm. Why are you making this a big issue? She asked. She's old. These things happen. Something inside me snapped. That old woman is the reason I exist, I replied. She gave me her life. She rolled her eyes. You choose her over me. I looked straight into her eyes. I choose humanity. That night, I packed my bags. Not to leave my mother again, but to find her and never let her be alone. I sold my car. I took loans. I went door to door, asking, searching, begging. Every rejection hardened my resolve. On the 7th day, a bus conductor remembered her. She asked me how to reach the old workers' colony. He said. My heart leaped. Hope for joy. Trembling returned. I ran. Caring who saw me. Not caring how I looked for the first time. I wasn't chasing success. I was chasing forgiveness. The workers' colony stood at the edge of the city, a place forgotten by development, hidden behind factories and broken roads. My heart beat so loudly I could hear it in my ears. Every step felt heavier than the last. I asked people her description again and again. An old guard finally pointed toward a narrow lane. She sleeps there. Sometimes, he said quietly, under the tin roof. My hands started shaking. Ed slowly, afraid that I might be too late. And then I saw her sitting on the ground, her back bent more than before, her shawl torn, her hands trembling as she tried to warm them with her breath. My mother, the woman who once stood like a wall in front of every storm in my life. Now, she looked smaller, older, broken. Amy, I whispered. She didn't respond. I stepped closer. Amy, it's me. She looked up. Her eyes searched my face, not with joy but confusion. Beta, she asked softly. Are you real, or am I dreaming again? I fell to my knees. I held her feet, crying uncontrollably. I'm here, Amy, I'm here. I'm sorry. She touched my head with shaking hands. Why are you crying, Beta? She asked. Did something bad happen to you? Even after everything, she worried about me. I tried to help her stand. She couldn't. Her legs trembled, refusing to carry her weight. My heart shattered. How long have you been like this? I asked. She looked away. Just a few days, she lied gently, but her weak body told the truth. She hadn't eaten properly. She hadn't slept safely. She had survived on charity and prayers. And I had been living in comfort. I carried her in my arms. People stared. Some whispered, some judged, but for the first time in my life, I didn't care if shame had a face. It was mine. I took her to a small rented room. Nothing fancy. One bed, one light, but it was safe. I fed her with my own hands. Every bite she took felt like forgiveness and punishment at the same time. That night, she spoke softly. Beta, did I do something wrong? That question destroyed me. No, Amy, I cried. I failed you. I left you alone. She smiled faintly. Allah brought you back. She said, that is enough. Days passed. She recovered slowly, but something was missing. Her laughter, her confidence. She woke up at night, frightened. She flinched at loud voices. Trauma doesn't scream. It whispers. I returned to the house once more, not as a husband, but as a son demanding justice. My wife was angry. You left me alone, she accused. I looked at her. Calmly, you threw my mother onto the streets. She defended herself. I needed peace, I answered slowly. Peace, built on cruelty, is a curse. I won't live where my mother is not respected, I said. She laughed bitterly. You'll choose an old woman over your marriage. I didn't raise my voice. I choose my duty. That was the end. I filed for separation, not out of revenge but survival. I moved permanently with my mother. I worked extra hours. I cooked. I cleaned up. For the first time, she wasn't serving me. I was serving her. One evening, she held my hand. Beta, she said, crying, I never wanted to come between you and your wife. I kissed her forehead. You didn't come between us, I replied. She came between me and my conscience. My days changed completely. I woke up before dawn, not for office emails, but to make sure my mother had taken her medicine. I cooked simple food. I washed her clothes. I learned how to listen, really listen. Sometimes, while stirring tea, I'd see her staring at the wall, lost in memories she never spoke about. Trauma doesn't always cry. Sometimes it just sits quietly. Money became a constant worry. Legal separation, rent, medical bills. I sold everything that wasn't necessary. My comfort, my pride, but never my resolve. At work, my performance suffered one day. My manager called me in. You're distracted, he said. What's going on? I told him everything. For the first time, I didn't hide my pain behind professionalism. My manager listened silently. Then he said something I'll never forget. You're not weak, he said. You're human. He adjusted my schedule. Not everyone in this world is cruel. One evening, my mother noticed my tired face. You're ruining your life for me, she said softly. No, Amy, I replied. I'm saving it. She looked unconvinced. I prayed for your happiness, she whispered, not your sacrifice. I held her hands. My happiness is your peace. One night she said something unexpected. I miss sitting in sunlight, she said. Our old home had a small window. That night, I couldn't sleep. We didn't ask for luxury. She asked for light. I decided to move, not back forward. Found a small house on the edge of the city, cheap, quiet sunlight pouring through the windows. The landlord hesitated. She's old, he said. Will you manage? I looked at my mother. I've been managing my whole life because of her, I replied. The day we moved in, my mother stood in the doorway silently. Tears rolled down her cheeks. This is too much, she said. No, I answered. This is not enough, but it's a start. She placed her hand on the wall and whispered a prayer. That prayer felt heavier than any blessing I'd ever received. Slowly. She changed. She started waking up earlier. She watered plants. She smiled more often, but some nights she still cried. I sat beside her bed. I'm here. I'd say. She'd nod. That was enough. Relatives started talking. He left his wife. He chose his mother. As if those two things should never coexist. I stopped, explaining. Not everyone deserves answers. One day, as I returned from work, I saw my mother waiting at the gate. Standing. Smiling. I froze. She hadn't stood like that in months. I wanted to welcome you, she said in that moment. Every struggle felt worth it. One evening, as I unlocked the gate, I saw her. My wife, standing outside the house I had built from pain. Her face looked tired. Her pride cracked. I just want to talk, she said. My mother was inside, watering plants peacefully, unaware. My heart raced. Some doors once closed should never be reopened. She spoke about loneliness, about regret, about mistakes. I didn't know it would go this far, she said. I was frustrated. I was wrong. I listened, not because I owed her forgiveness, but because I owed myself closure. Do you know where my mother slept? I asked quietly. On cold ground, waiting for a son she thought had abandoned her. She looked away. Silence can be louder than apologies. I can't come back like this, she said. Not with her here. That sentence answered everything. She doesn't leave, I replied calmly. This is her home. She scoffed. Then choose. I didn't hesitate. I already did. Later that night, my mother noticed my silence. You met her, she said gently. I froze. How did you know? A mother knows. She smiled sadly. She held my hand. But if she returns, I'll go. That broke me. No one is leaving, I said firmly. Not anymore. 2 days later, my mother collapsed. Panic tore through me. Hospital tests, waiting rooms that smelled like fear. The doctor spoke words no son is ready to hear. She's very weak, he said. Stress has taken its toll. I sat beside her bed, holding her hand. Amy, please, I whispered. I've just brought you home. Her eyes opened slowly. Don't cry, she said. I'm not going anywhere yet. Even in pain, she comforted me. At the hospital, my wife appeared again. I heard she's sick, she said. For a moment, hope flickered. Then she added, this is all too much drama. You should put her in a care home. Something inside me died and something stronger was born. Leave, I said. This time, my voice didn't shake. That night I didn't sleep. I prayed beside my mother's bed. Not for miracles, for mercy. For strength. For forgiveness from her. And from myself. Before dawn, she spoke. I knew your wife didn't like me, she whispered. I stayed quiet, because I didn't want to lose you. Tears rolled down my face. You never lost me, I said. I lost my way. I made a final decision. I withdrew the separation papers and turned them into divorce. Not out of anger, but clarity. Some relationships demand sacrifice. Others demand escape. My mother recovered slowly. Every step she took felt like a blessing. When we returned home, she touched the doorway and smiled. I thought I'd never see this again. She said, neither did I. The house was quiet in the early mornings. Not the kind of silence that hurts, but the kind that heals. Sunlight entered through the window my mother loved most. She sat near it, prayer beads in her hand, eyes closed, lips moving gently. Watching her like that felt like watching time itself slow down. For the first time in many months, I felt steady. Our days followed a simple rhythm. I went to work. She waited for me. I returned. She asked if I had eaten. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes we didn't. Peace doesn't always need words. The plants she watered had grown taller. The walls held warmth. The house, once just bricks and paint, had become a home. People began to visit. Relatives, old friends. Some curious, some judgmental. You sacrificed your marriage, they said. Was it worth it? I looked at my mother, sitting calmly, her face no longer afraid. Yes, I answered. It was necessary. Not everyone understood. I stopped trying to make them. One evening, she called me to sit beside her. Her voice was soft. Baited. Promise me something. My heart tightened. Don't ever feel guilty, she said. You did what your heart told you. I held her hand. You're staying with me, I said quickly. We still have time. She smiled, not sadly, not fearfully, but peacefully. Everything that comes with Allah's will, she said. For the first time, her words didn't scare me. A week later, a letter arrived from my ex-wife. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't blame, just a few lines. I didn't understand love when it asked for patience. I hope you and your mother find peace. I folded the letter and placed it away. Forgiveness doesn't always require reconciliation. One afternoon, I returned home to find her waiting at the door again, standing straight, smiling. I cooked today, she said proudly. I tasted the food. It tasted like childhood, like survival, like love that had endured everything. That night, I sat alone and reflected. I had chased success. I had chased approval. But the greatest redemption came when I chose responsibility over convenience, duty over comfort, love over fear. I didn't feel heroic. I felt human. Months passed. One morning, she didn't wake up on time. I entered her room quietly. She was lying peacefully, prayer beads still in her hand, a faint smile on her lips. She was breathing. Slowly, I sat beside her. "Amy," I whispered. Her eyes opened gently. "I'm happy," she said. "I'm not scared anymore." She closed her eyes again and rested. She lived. She was respected. She was loved. She was not alone. That was her victory. That was my redemption. Some choices cost you relationships. Some choices cost you comfort, but some choices save your soul. If loving your mother makes lonely, accept the loneliness. If choosing duty breaks your world, build a better one, because when everything else fades, a mother's prayer is the only thing that stays.